You felt it once not in your thoughts, but beneath them, a glance you didn't return, yet your stomach tightened, a hand that brushed past yours, and you forgot your name. Not love, not even desire, but something older. Before your language, before your morals, before your face, you want to pretend it was a mistake, a trick of biology, a chemical twitch. But no, there was something watching you from inside your own body, waiting for the permission you never gave. It did not ask. It reacted. You covered it with shame, layered it in silence, locked it behind 1,000 good reasons. And yet, every time your skin was touched by accident, you remembered. A heat not yours, a pulse not willed. You call yourself civilized, educated, principled, but your body keeps whispering its own commandments, ancient and impolite. You think you are free. You think you are the one who chooses, but when your breath catches before your mind can intervene, who chose that? Not you, never you. You were merely the last to know. You do not desire, you are desired by something inside you. It does not wait for your permission. It does not consult your reason. It opens its mouth when your lips are still shut in prayer. And when you wake in the night, flushed and ashamed, it is already finished with you. You call it instinct, but it is not animal. Animals are honest. This is different. This is the betrayal of flesh against your very name. You walk into the room dressed in modesty, but your hips carry a hunger older than modesty. You speak about restraint, about virtue, about self-possession, but there is a rhythm to your pulse that does not speak your language. It listens to something older, a whisper in the blood, a scream muffled beneath lace. You wear civility like perfume, but when someone walks past who mirrors the shape of your undoing, you no longer smell of restraint. You smell of the species, and it does not apologize. You cannot see your reflection when lust takes hold. That is why it wins. It steals the mirror first. It floods the eyes with a purpose too primal to name and too familiar to ignore. And so you look, you linger, you breathe with more urgency than you claim to. You shift your weight just enough, not too much, just enough to signal that you are not immune. You are merely hiding the fact that you never were. You call it attraction, but it is not. Attraction can be explained, described, discussed. This cannot. This simply pulls not toward joy, not toward understanding, but toward compulsion. Your legs move, your tongue warms, your pupils open like wounds, and for one brief second, you are not a person. You are a passage. You are a trembling invitation to something that does not know your name and does not care to learn it. You say you want love, but your body craves risk. You say you want safety, but your eyes follow cruelty with a curiosity that virtue cannot explain. There is a reason you tremble not when you are cherished, but when you are cornered, because the will that lives beneath your kindness does not trust comfort. It trusts danger, not because it enjoys pain, but because pain proves something is real. The world does not lie when it hurts, and your body does not lie when it aches. You are taught that desire should be pure, that longing should be chosen, that the soul should guide the flesh. But the soul is a late arrival. The soul is the guest that apologizes for the feast it never cooked. The feast was already happening before you understood the menu. Your hunger was already eating before you learned the word no. And the moment you believe you are in control, your body reminds you with a blush, a tremor, a scent, a dream that control is a fiction draped over the truth of the will. The will does not love, it replicates. That is its only logic. It does not care whether the object is worthy, kind, gentle, or safe. It only asks, can this continue me? Can this conquer the silence of death through the moan of birth? You think you are above that question. You are not. You are that question, walking upright, brushing your teeth, answering emails, but still obeying the law of propagation every time your breath shortens in the presence of someone who could destroy you. You try to moralize the twitch of the nerve. You call it weakness. You pray for discipline. But discipline is decoration. It arrives after the decision has already been made, not by you, but by the chain of ancestors screaming through your spine. Your morals are scaffolding. The building was finished long before you were born, and inside that building, the will still walks, barefoot, blind, and victorious. Why do you crave what wounds you? Why do you ignore what steadies you? Because the will does not seek equilibrium. It seeks eruption. You do not want peace. You want trembling. The trembling that tells you this is real. This is mine. This can break me, and therefore I will give it everything. Because if it does not break me, it never mattered. You lie to yourself with lipstick and laughter. You paint over the urgency with intellect, but the body waits. It watches from the threshold of your choices. It lets you speak, and when you are finished speaking, it enters. Sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes in a flash of eye contact, sometimes in the silence between conversations, and it reminds you you are not free, you are inherited. You think your desire is unique. It is not. It is programmed. And worse, it is boring. It is the same sequence repeating itself across centuries through queens and beggars alike. The same pulse, the same ache, the same surrender. No progress, no individuality. Just the scream of the species dressed in a new perfume. You say you are choosing. You are not. You are being chosen not by the person across from you, but by the voice inside your pelvis that remembers 1,000,000 lifetimes of hunger. It chooses what you will crave before you even know you are craving. It marks your dreams with symbols you pretend not to understand. It sends you shivers, daydreams, obsessions, shadows, and you call it chemistry. But it is not chemistry. It is slavery. And yet, you love it. You would rather be enslaved by it than be ignored. You would rather tremble in shame than feel nothing. You would rather betray yourself than live untouched. Because something in you knows if you do not react, you do not exist. And so you react, even when you know it will ruin you, even when you know he will not stay. Even when you know the body you offer will be discarded, still you offer, still you ache, still you return. Because to be desired even falsely, even briefly, is the only moment you feel seen without speaking, and to be seen without speaking is the closest you have come to truth. But it is not your truth, it is the will's. And it cares nothing for your happiness. It only asks that you survive long enough to pass on its fire. You think you want someone to understand you, but what you really want is someone who cannot be explained, someone who makes your morals hesitate, your logic stutter, your breath escape through parted lips. You want the one who unlocks the scream you buried beneath etiquette. You want the one who silences your mind by awakening your flesh. Not because it is healthy, not because it is good, but because it is older than both. You pray to resist, but the resistance is only arousal in disguise, and you know it. Your no is only trembling in another accent. Your refusal is foreplay, your caution is theater, because when the will wants, it does not knock. It kicks in the door, and you, the tenant of your own decency, pretend you are being robbed when in truth, you handed it the key before it even arrived. You want to be free, then die. The will ends only with you. Until then, you are its reflection, its instrument, its echo. And every time you gasp, every time you flinch, every time you follow him with your eyes while pretending not to, the will smiles, because it has won again. And you will call it love, but it is not of, it is thirst. And thirst does not ask permission, it only waits for silence. And then it drinks. You wear your smile like armor, don't you, measured clean, benevolent and illusion sewn into the corners of your mouth. A silent contract that says, I am in control. I am not moved. I am above this. But behind your teeth, there's a tremor. And beneath that calm expression, something obscene watches from within. It waits for the one who sees past your words, the one whose voice shatters your moral script, the one who makes your breath betray your story. You believe your restraint makes you superior, but restraint is not mastery, it is only postponement. You delay the collapse because you want the pleasure of pretending it was your decision. But your body knows better, it always did. It has never truly listened to you. You are not its master, you are its narrator, always arriving after the moment, giving names to what already happened. When your pupils dilate, your spine straightens, your pulse quickens, your body is not asking for your approval, it is informing you of its choice. Every smile you gave while trying to feel nothing, he noticed. Every laugh that lingered a second too long, every sidelong glance hidden in etiquette, every accidental touch that wasn't entirely accidental. You think it went unseen, but nature has no blind spots. The will recognizes its own echo. It knows the scent of its prey even when it wears pearls. You want to deny it, but that denial is the final theater, the final illusion before surrender. You thought you were playing safe, but safety was never your goal. If it were, you would have chosen the one who waited, the one who asked, the one who respected, but you didn't. You chose the one who threatened your balance, the one who violated your rhythm, the one who made you feel like prey. You say you wanted tenderness, but your body leapt at the cruelty, not because it was cruel, but because it was real. This is what you won't admit. The man who undoes you is not the man who loves you. He is the one who disarms you, who sees the small deceit in your smile and tears it open with silence. He doesn't explain himself, and that makes your mind collapse because it can no longer protect you from what your body has already decided. His unpredictability is not charming, it is terrifying, but terror is closer to truth than comfort ever was, and you crave that truth, even if it breaks you. You tell yourself you are falling in love, but love is too clean a word for this. This is something more ancient, something more obscene. You are not falling in love, you are falling into memory, a memory older than you, embedded in the pelvis, rehearsed by the species. He touched your wrist, and every ancestor in your blood whispered, obey. You deny it afterward. Of course you do. You tell yourself it was a lapse, a moment of confusion. But your denial is only the echo of the act. You hope that if you smile long enough, the body will forget. But the body forgets nothing. It remembers what the mind cannot face. It carries the shame like perfume, subtle, lingering, inescapable. You pretend it was emotional, but it wasn't. You felt it in the skin, not in the soul. The soul arrived later, too late, to rewrite the event. But the scent was already in your hair. The tremor was already in your thighs. The guilt was already bleeding into your pillow. And still, you smile, because the smile gives you cover. It is the mask of the modern woman composed, discerning, morally intact. But the mask slips, always. And when it does, you do not scream. You gasp, because the truth is part of you wants to be unmasked. You want someone to call your bluff, to see the choreography behind your restraint. You want someone to laugh at your caution, to disarm your script, to pull the thread that unravels your entire theater, because only then will the ache feel justified. Only then will the thirst have a name. Do not speak of choice. You never had one. The will to live made it for you. Every flutter in your belly, every moment of breathlessness, every irrational obsession, these were not choices. They were symptoms. Your smile is only the disguise you wear while the will devours you from within. It feeds on your fantasies, dresses them in virtue, and makes you believe you are the author. You are not. You are the page. There is no justice in desire, only selection, a brutal sorting done by nature behind the curtain of your intentions. You call him your type, but he is not a type. He is a biological directive, an archetype encoded before your mother was born. You didn't choose him because he was good. You chose him because he was necessary. Necessary to wake the part of you that does not speak in words, only in want. You remember the first time it happened, not the moment, but the rupture, the sudden collapse of reason, the surge of heat that shamed you before it pleased you. You remember how you stared at your reflection afterward, not with pride, not even with guilt, but with shock, because you realized you were not who you said you were. You were someone else entirely, a creature, a corridor, a vessel of instincts dressed in intellect. And now, you see it again, in your current mirror, in the lie of your daily performance. The smile is still there, but it no longer convinces you, because behind that smile, your body waits, still alert, still loyal to its first master, the will, and it will answer again. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but one glance, one voice, one scent, and you will betray your smile again. Not because you want to, because you were never built to resist. You think civilization protects you, but it only delays you. Every rule, every law, every ritual is scaffolding erected around the hunger, a hunger that still beats inside your chest, even when you're alone. You can read philosophy, you can wear modest clothing, you can speak of spiritual evolution, but beneath all this, your body still dreams of being taken not gently, not romantically, but completely. You want to vanish into a man who doesn't care who you are, because then, finally, the ache would have no name, and what cannot be named cannot be judged. And you do judge it every day. You judge yourself. You call it weakness, but it is not weakness. It is your origin. You are ashamed of your own beginning, ashamed that pleasure arrived before permission, that longing outpaced logic, that your morality was only ever a shadow cast by a trembling thigh. You can continue the performance. No one will stop you. You can smile and laugh and speak as though you are above it all. But you know, in the silence between your sentences, you know, the will is still awake, and it remembers every man who made your breath stop. It remembers the scent of your undoing. It remembers the arch in your spine, the snap in your gaze, the moment your body screamed yes while your mouth whispered no. You can write books about empowerment. You can teach young women to know their worth, but your body will always answer to something else, something without language, something that doesn't care about your feminism, your politics, or your sense of dignity. It only cares about the flame and who can ignite it. And so you smile, because the smile is safer than the scream. But inside the smile, the scream still lives, and it waits for the next man who does not need your words. You thought your life was your own, that your dreams, your choices, your silent suffering were shaped by some inner truth, some private flame. But your life is a corridor, not a destination. You walk through it thinking the walls are your ideas, your values, your unique reflections. But the architecture was drawn long before you arrived. You inherited the shape of the corridor, its curves, its dead ends, its illusions of freedom. You were born into a function, and that function has a name, the continuation of the species. Your body does not belong to you. It never did. It belongs to the will, the blind, indifferent, insatiable will to live. It rented you as a temporary dwelling. It carved a womb in your center and wrote no instructions, only hunger. You call it love. You call it longing. But it is function disguised as feeling. You do not fall in love, you are guided into reproduction by a voice too old to speak in words. The tragedy is not that you are used. The tragedy is that you believe you are loved, that he chose you, that it meant something, but he did not choose you. The will chose through him. His gaze only followed the map already etched across your hips. Your scent, your symmetry. You believed he saw you, but he only saw the doorway nature opened to pass itself through you. You thought your pleasure mattered, that your trembling meant something, but it was only incentive, the will's trick to keep you compliant, like the song of a siren, luring you toward a fate you would never willingly accept if it did not feel good. If the ecstasy did not arrive first, would you ever open yourself so willingly to a stranger? No. But the will knew this. It built delight into your undoing. It carved euphoria into your surrender. And yet you think you are the author of your lust. You say my desire, my craving, my type. But what you crave is not yours. You are simply the mouth it uses to speak, a temporary instrument, singing the same song every woman has sung for 1,000 years. And yet you think you are different because your face is new, your stories modern, your heartbreak unique. But the pattern is identical. The ache always ends in the same place your body opened, your dignity negotiated, your memory rewritten to match the lie of intimacy. You seek meaning in the encounter. You stitch narratives from nothing. But the will does not care for meaning. It only cares that the egg is reached, that the union is made, that the next cry is born. Everything else, your heartbreak, your poems, your moral confusion is irrelevant noise. You are a mechanism draped in illusion, designed to feel chosen while you are being used. Even motherhood, the sacred role you believe redeems the flesh, is not yours. You raise a child, not because the universe entrusted you with a soul, but because the will required another vessel. You call it a miracle, but it is a chain. You are the link between what was and what must be. And if your body dies in the process, the will does not mourn. It only moves on through the cries of the child you left behind. You try to spiritualize it, to say that reproduction is divine, that giving life is sacred. But the will does not care for the sacred. It is mechanical, relentless, brutal. It does not ask your opinion. It does not offer gratitude. It only opens your legs and forces your heart to follow. You call it creation, but it is compulsion. You wonder why you always fall for the man who does not love you back. Why the ones who cradle your soul never awaken your thighs. It is because the will does not care who is kind. It only cares who is strong, who can overpower, who can leave a mark. Your body is not looking for companionship. It is hunting for vitality, not for you, for what comes after you. And so the one who wounds you is the one who stays inside you, even when he's gone. His absence becomes a shrine, his cruelty, a symbol. You dream of him because he activated the code, the ancient command written in your bones, and you ache, not because he is gone, but because the will has no use for you now. He has already passed through you. You were the gate. You mistook yourself for the destination. You can dress it in poetry, You can cry about betrayal, but what really hurts is knowing you were never the point. That your love, your soul, your trembling were only the theater required to complete a task you didn't design. You are not a woman in pain. You are a vessel spent. You try to rebuild yourself. You cut your hair. You start over. But the same pattern returns. The same hunger wrapped in new faces. You are haunted by the cycle not because you are weak, but because the will is patient. It knows you will forget. It knows you will call it fate. And so it waits behind each conversation, each smile, each accident of timing. And when your guard is down, it slips through again, this time with a new name, a new scent, a new lie. You say you want to be known, but the one who truly knows you will never make you tremble, because he respects your illusion. He does not activate the code, and so you leave him. You call him boring. You say he lacks chemistry, but what he lacks is cruelty. What he lacks is threat. And without threat, you do not feel, because your body was built to react to danger, not to peace. Peace puts the will to sleep. Danger awakens it. You envy women who feel nothing, but even their numbness is a pose. A form of control, one last performance to resist being devoured. But even they remember. Even they have one man whose name they cannot say without heat, because no one escapes the will, not even the cold ones, not even the wise. You are not guilty for obeying it, but you are deluded for thinking you're in charge. You are not free. You are not sovereign. You are not whole. You are a battlefield where nature and illusion trade places in your name. You call yourself evolved, but you still bleed on schedule. You still crave what wounds. You still remember the voice that silenced your reason. You believed he awakened you, but he only awakened the will inside you. He was not special. He was efficient. His presence aligned with the pattern, and the pattern used your body like a theater. You thought you were experiencing destiny. You were experiencing utility. You can write about your healing. You can preach boundaries, but boundaries are fences drawn in chalk. The first rain of longing washes them away, and you will follow again, because to be followed is not as powerful as to be overtaken, and that is what your body wants. Not partnership, not equality, overtaking, dominance. Not in cruelty, but in certainty, the certainty of the one who does not wait for your permission. You are not wicked for wanting it, but you are foolish for denying it. You do not need to be ashamed of your craving. You need to stop decorating it in lies, stop calling it something it's not. It is not romantic. It is not spiritual. It is not empowered. It is the groan of the species through your skin, the will masked as rapture, and you will feel it again, and you will pretend again, and you will be used again. Not because you are a victim, but because the will does not care for victory or loss. It only cares for return, and it always returns. It returns through longing, through dreams, through the moment he touches your hair and says nothing, through the hunger you cannot name in polite company. It returns in the heat between your thighs that rises without consent. It returns in the emptiness that follows pleasure because the pleasure was never yours. It belonged to the will. And now, so do you. You wake in the dark, not afraid, just unfinished. A dream still echoing in the hollow of your spine. Not a face, not a voice, just the pulse of something that passed through you. You reach for a memory that doesn't exist, only a shape, the curve of a shoulder, the shadow of a command. Your hands are clean, but your body knows better. You whisper his name, and it sounds like hunger, but the room gives no answer, only silence. And in that silence, you hear it not a word. Not a truth, but the old whisper rising again. You are not the one who loves. You are the one through whom love passes.